camped out all night in the rain, cold rain, so that way they can be the first in line to have their loan modified. And they were lucky. Their mortgage actually was reduced. They said by 10 a.m. on Thursday morning, they left with their mortgage going from $3,100 a month down to $1,730 a month.
Guess it was worth the trip.
It was worth the trip. And I know a lot of people are really not happy about this modification program, particularly those that pay their mortgages on time every month. It's like, if I pay my mortgage on time every month, why should I help out somebody else that, got in over their head, or, that are not paying their mortgage amount on time. And I think that a lot of people probably don't realize just how bad some of these predatory loans are.
Yeah, I think you said you had an example of a client that you had that had just a terrible loan, right? Right.
And this I ran until a couple of years ago. I had a client. We were working with the lender. He went with a loan company, and I was trying to get some of the loan information from the lender, and I was wondering why the lender was so difficult. I mean, I was like pulling teeth trying to get any information out of the lender. So we get to the closing table, and the loan documents finally come in over the fax. And I finally get a chance to look at the mortgage, and I'm reading the mortgage over, and I'm thinking, I cannot believe what I'm seeing. I mean, the interest rate was 27%.
Wow.
So I stopped the closing process, and I took my client aside, and I was like, did you read over this document? Are you aware that you're signing a 30-year mortgage at a 27% interest rate? And he's like, yeah, he knew. And I was like, do you realize just how outside the norm that is? And he looked me straight in the eye, and he said, I know it's, my credit is really, really bad, but you don't understand. All my life, all I ever wanted to have was a home. And this is a chance for me to get a home. And I don't care what I have to do to get a home. I just want this home. And I tried to talk to him and just say, if your credit, granted, is bad, you wait a year, work on it, your credit will get better. You may be able to apply for a loan at a more normal rate of return. And he was just really insistent. He's like, I really want to close in this house. So I continued reading over the loan documents, and I noticed that the loan had a prepayment penalty. And a lot of times loans will have a small prepayment penalty, maybe like through the first 3 years or something like that. Especially like when you have a mortgage that's based on some sort of special credit, like like if you're a teacher, you might get some sort of special loan or something. And because they're giving you this special credit, the lender wants you to stay in the mortgage for at least a couple of years.
So they have for the loan company with 27%.
Right. Well, this particular loan company, I think, had a prepayment penalty that lasted. I'm going to say it lasted at least 5 years, if not longer than that. And the terms were just unbelievable. If he wanted to prepay his mortgage, he would have to come up with approximately 5% of the whole entire loan amount as a prepayment penalty the first year. So clearly, this loan, the way it was written, not only, how the lenders will tell you a lot of times when you get these high interest rates loans that you can roll them over, when your credit gets better, you can roll it over and get a better loan at a lower interest rate. This loan was clearly written not only to not allow him the ability to roll over, but it was very predatory in nature. I mean, it was just one of the worst mortgages I had seen, because if he's having trouble qualifying for a mortgage, how is he going to qualify for a mortgage to say a year later when his credit is a little bit better, but now all of a sudden he has to come up with 5,000, not 5,000, but 5% of the total entire loan amount.
You get that loan from Tony Soprano?
Well, you know what? He probably did. I know he did. I know that isn't who he really got it from, but that loan company was something really weird. So anyway, what I ended up doing, I just told him, I was like, in good conscience, I honestly cannot close on this loan. And to make the point, I got up and walked away, and I just told him, he owed me, attorney fees. So I really didn't want to walk away from the table because I knew I wasn't going to get paid. But by the same token, I just, in all good conscience, I couldn't close on a loan. And I was kind of hoping that he would get the hint and not close on it. So I called him the next day to find out what had happened, what he did. And of course, when I left that day, nothing was going to happen that day because, everything was put on hold. Well, the following day, he had put everything all back together again, scheduled the closing, went to the closing himself, and signed off on all the documents, and got the home. And he was just on cloud nine. This guy, you would have thought he had won the lottery. He was just so excited, and I was happy for him. He wanted me to come out and see his home. I saw the home. It was a modest home. Just no way I would have wanted to pay 27% interest rate for that home. not that there was anything wrong with the home, but just the whole principle of the matter. Just, why get ripped off to have a home to that degree? And I just, so when I see this program that they have for predatory loans, I think it's a good one. I think people are not aware, not only just how prevalent these loans are, but just how bad some of them are. I mean, you've heard things like the option earn loans where you're paying less than a minimum interest amount. And then that gets tacked on to the principal of the loan. I mean, just crazy stuff out there. But a 27% interest rate for a mortgage loan, I mean, that's higher than a lot of credit cards.
Right.
So
that's why we're in the mess we're in this country.
That is why we're in the mess we're in. And so, and even with these loans being modified, I mean, for those that are current on their payments, those people that are getting the loans modified, they're not necessarily getting this free ride that a lot of people might feel that they're getting. For one, if they've been paying 27% for a number of years, clearly they've been getting ripped off. I mean, a lot of that money that they've been paying on their mortgage is going towards interest payments, so they're not going to have the principal amount that somebody that might have had a normal mortgage and paid over the same time period. The principal, they wouldn't have gotten towards the principal to the same degree. But also some of these loan modifications, now you're talking about loans being extended beyond 30 years. So, but, let's say if you have a 40-year mortgage, I mean, I just find it hard to believe that you would have a 40-year mortgage. But let's just say you have one, at least you've got a place to stay. If you got kids, family, you've got a roof over your head. You're going to end up having to pay for a place to eat, a place to live, whether it's your home or, whether you rent your home or you own your home.
Right.
But I'm not such a, I really don't know that American dream that everyone should have a home or own a home. I'm not even sure if that's, not only do I not think that's a realistic dream, but I'm not even sure if that's the best economic dream that a person should have. I'm not sure. With the home values decreasing so rapidly as they have over the last few years, I'm not sure that owning a home has the same value that we may think it has, particularly if you're on shaky financial ground. I think that having a home would do more harm, and obviously it has done. It took down a whole entire economy for the most part.
Right.
So obviously it has done more harm than good.
Yeah, and I guess, back when the houses were going up in value, so much, I guess to maybe it justified in people's minds, well, hey, in my house, I've got something that's going up, 10% a year or whatever,
Right.
So, obviously the opposite's going on now. So.
Right. And then I think you had the auto loans. You had mentioned something about auto loans.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, many years ago, it used to be very common, and most people had like 3-year loans, 4-year loans, maybe 5. 5 was kind of like on the high end, and now it's not unusual to see 72, 84-month loans, so they're just extended out more, so you could get a workable monthly payment.
Right.
And so if you have a 40-year mortgage, I mean, that's better than to foreclose on your home,
Well, it could be better. I mean, it really depends on whether or not you're substantially upside down in your mortgage. In the sense that, what I mean by that is if your home is worth $200,000 but you owe $300,000, I'm not sure if a 40-year mortgage makes sense.
Well, what if it goes up in value? I mean, right now it's bad, but let's say 10 years from now, if things are, you're going to have maybe hopefully get some equity built up.
Right. I don't know. I mean, I can't say.
Okay.
I mean, that's a good argument to take the 40-year mortgage, but I don't know. I guess everyone's situation will be different. Now I have an article from the Economic Times, and this kind of goes into the whole gold arena again. We've been talking about that a lot lately because gold has been rising so much in value. But this week it was actually off its highs. It had reached a high of $1,225. And now it pulled back a little bit. It's like about I think it closed on Friday at $1,161. And this article talks about China now is overtaking India as the world's largest consumer of gold.
And why is that?
Well, it's one is because China has more, their citizenry has more liquidity, I guess, than those in India. And in this particular article, it's not focusing on the countries per se buying gold. This is talking about consumers buying gold. And in India, traditionally, gold has been brought. India and China, gold is brought not just as jewelry, but it's also brought as an investment. So the carat amount when you're buying jewelry in China and India, the reason why they have a higher carat amount is because of that dual purpose. And so traditionally, India has the Indian citizenry has